And we're live. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Harrison Ngo, and I'm joined by Ian Eatwell
Hey, how's it going?
and Luc Tran.
Hello.
And we talk about what's going on in the nerd world, ranging from movies, comics, to video games. If you're a new listener, we'll start by talking about what we've been up to lately or any cool news that we've heard before jumping into our main topic, which is essentially just video game reviews. So, because Last of Us dropped last week, so that's like its own thing in itself we'll jump into. But for now, what's up, guys? You've been up to? Huh?
So I just bought Oxygen Not Included on Steam, and that is eating up my life. It's the same people who did Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together, if you guys are familiar with that game franchise, but Oxygen Not Included, I think kind of like Don't Starve, is some sort of base building game. And it's really fun, but it's really annoying sometimes because the AI for your characters is really dumb. And I'm slowly figuring out how to there are like priority lists and ways to essentially code your characters so they only do specific actions. And it's not super well explained. I think my one gripe with Oxygen Not Included is a lot of things aren't explained super well. Which, I mean, a lot of people like. There's a really big camp of fans who really like Oxygen Not Included and always say you should only ever play it blind. Don't try and look up anything. It's just trial and error. And normally I do really like that. But on my first colony, there came a certain point where I just didn't understand enough about electrical engineering where I couldn't power my base very well. And so I wish I looked up a guide of like, hey, here are like basic steps, and I guess like it's basically like a crash course on how electricity works in terms of real world physics. And I just I took physics a long time ago, and I don't remember anything about electricity.
Too long.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm being a little hyperbolic, but there is a lot of like managing your watt level, and it's just physics was never my strong point. And part of the reason my first colony failed was I had to keep rewiring everything because my wires would just break themselves, and it was a mess. And just like that thing happened, and then it's really funny actually to watch someone fail at Oxygen Not Included, because it's always these little steps that just cascade into everybody just dies. Because it was like, all my wiring is breaking. I need to repair it. Oh, I need more copper wire. I have to go dig for copper wire. Oh, everybody's dying because there's suddenly an influx of like hydrogen gas in my base. But
I've watched Markiplier play a little bit of that, and it's just like when things start going downhill, it spirals fast.
Yeah, it's yeah, and that it is really fun. And besides that, I've been replaying Horizon Zero Dawn on New Game Plus. Just kind of get more excited for Horizon Forbidden West, which that's going to be day one buy for me. I am. It's really funny. I think my girlfriend bought Horizon Zero Dawn just on a whim. Like we didn't really know too much. Like we had seen the trailers and it looked really cool. We were interested, but we generally, at least when I buy games, I do a lot of I'll do a lot of reading about it. I'll see if I can watch someone play it. But I think we just got too excited. We ended up buying the game. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West will be a day one buy for us.
Ooh.
That's what I've been playing recently.
Just curious, is the PS5 going to be your day one buy?
Probably.
It's
It's going to be one of those, I'm not going to wait. I'm probably not going to honestly buy day one because I'm probably going to be out of town because I'm sure it's coming out over the holiday. I'm usually out for the holiday.
Right.
But we're going to, as soon as it is financially safe, we're just going to buy it. Because based on the PlayStation feature of gaming, there's like 4 or 5 games that are just immediately to me scream to me like you need to play these games.
Mm-hmm.
So
Agree.
Yeah, like
and like especially at least in my perspective, at least for Sony games, they tend to be a lot more fun exclusives,
right,
or at least
agreed.
more unique exclusives, and that's what I'm more interested in.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I'm definitely gonna get it as soon as I can, especially based on, I don't know if they're true or not, but there were leaks about the pricing.
Yeah.
If the digital one does end up being $3.99, like that's pretty doable.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that's
Yeah. I'd do that easy in a heart.
like, and that's my thing with like the next gen part is I got the PS4 late in its life cycle, so I have a bunch of stuff I can play. But like I kind of wish I got it a little bit earlier just to like experience when certain games dropped and actually play it
Yeah.
at that time.
God, part of it is like after playing Horizon again, my PS4 just wants to fly away. Like it's chugging so hard.
Yeah.
And like it still performs great, but it's just so loud where if what they're saying about how quiet and how well cooled the PS5 is, I can't wait to not just like almost every PS4 game I've played recently is just like jet engine. And it's going to be really nice to have a quiet
Just console for
quiet console.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been up to, Harrison? What have you been playing?
Man. Let's see. I've just been playing. I'm at this point, so I'm almost done with my master's program, so that's the main thing. It's literally say like a little over a month, and then I'll be done. Like first week of August, like literally first day, I'll be done. Like that's the end of my class. So the class is taking up more time. So every time like I finish stuff by like let's say midnight, and I'm like, all right, let's play some stuff. Let's just relax. I'm like starting to doze off when I try to start something.
Oh.
So I want to like, there's 2 games I really want to play right now, and I want to play Dragon Quest because I got it on the Switch, and my brother got me Persona 4, and I really want to start that. But both of those games, I feel like I have to actually sit down, focus, listen, pay attention to everything because I really want to, and it's not just like, oh, I can just like kind of do this once in a while. Like I want to like
just
have like a long
zone out on it.
Yeah, and I just want to like have like a solid play session, sit there for like a few hours, play the damn game. So I've just been kind of touching Destiny 2, of course, just because that's just what our like part of our friend group plays. Like we have a solid group still. Cool. And then I've been having this itch to like play another MMO though. So I was talking to Ian every time like, hey, should look into Guild Wars 2 because it's free. But it's like Guild Wars 2, or I've thought about, because my brother talked to me about like Elder Scrolls Online. I'm like, oh yeah, I have that too. But I feel like I don't know about juggling 2 large MMO games, so I don't know. We'll see. But other than that, yeah, nothing too crazy. Kind of sucks for like the next month or so. What about you, Ian? Are you more excited than me right now?
Probably not. No, I've been playing. What have I played that's new, man? I don't know. I've been playing more Hollow Knight. I'm still chipping away. I made a lot of progress in Hollow Knight actually. I think I want to say I've opened up almost every area of the map except
really?
for like 1 or 2. But yeah, I've beaten away a lot at that. That's been really fun. I've gotten more. I think last time I said I was like kind of not into the whole like having to like backtrack and go through all these things again, but I think I'm like more enjoying it now. I think it's just kind of, I'm feeling a little bit more. I will say I can't like, one thing that still kind of gets me is it'll be like, I'll be kind of like lost for a little bit, and it'll be because I have to go back to this one specific place that I couldn't reach before, but now that I have this ability,
now you can.
Now I can, but it's such like it was so long ago, and it was such like a small thing, because there have been like multiple places that I couldn't have gone, so I like having to like But I guess that's part of like the charm of like you're like adventuring through this thing. So like you're going back through places, finding paths and new areas. Just part of the game. But
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh, I'm lazy. But no, it's fun. And then I can't remember if I said this last time, or if I was playing this for the last podcast, but I was playing Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. I don't
You
remember.
mentioned.
I
I think you
about
mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dude. They're right. The atmosphere of that game is awesome. Like right when I loaded in, it was just like, and I have some like pretty decent headphones. They're not like god tier, but they're like really good headphones, so I can like hear the like voices moving throughout, and like it feels like they're just like whispering right beside me. It's super freaky.
Ooh, man.
It gives you that like auditory goosebumps. And the visuals are great. Like the atmosphere that they set up is mwah, perfect. It's great. The only downside is, and I'm kind of in the majority of the camp, I think here, is that their combat is. I almost immediately saw how people felt about that. How it's kind of jank.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just kind of there, I think, just to be
Yeah.
a token combat scenario.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not very complicated at all.
It's not complicated,
okay.
but it's a little bit clunky for me. It like the camera, the way it's positioned isn't like good for that kind of combat that they're doing. I don't think. Yeah, and it's just odd. You'll have like an enemy like come out of nowhere and hit you from behind, and there's like no way you could have seen them or known that they were there. But other than that, like it's been a really cool experience. And it's not the combat isn't bad enough to where it's like, oh god, like unplayable. I don't want to play this anymore. It's like it's kind of just like okay, I got to get through this real quick, and then we'll get back into the fun stuff, which is the exploration and the atmosphere. Some of the puzzles are fun too.
Isn't there a second one coming out? Like they announced that, right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah, there's a second Hellblade.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
a trailer for it.
There's a
Yeah.
trailer. Okay, that's what I thought. I remember that pop.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm interested to see how that's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Because they are the if I remember right, the company who did who made Hellblade, they made DMC, and I know I don't think DMC was a popular one, but I liked it, and so if they do a little bit more of the same of Hellblade, but maybe more
Like spice up the combat, maybe.
yeah, or change it up, or I don't know. I'm interested in it though for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think it's just more. I think right now it's just a lot more like new stuff because it's always like things because like all can't talk press conferences and all that are like dropping.
Mm.
So with that, have you guys heard any cool shit lately? Dope shit.
God, it's not cool and it's not dope,
Yeah, right.
but there is a lot of shakeups in kind of the, I guess, content creator world, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Between like Mixer got bought out by Facebook,
Yeah.
which is,
I mean,
what was that?
Oh no, go on. Yeah, I was just gonna.
I was gonna say, like, I'm kind of not surprised
Yeah.
that Mixer failed. They got some huge high profile streamers. They had Ninja and Shroud, who I think both of them, I think at the time they're definitely top 10 on Twitch.
Yeah.
I want to say they're almost top 5 on Twitch.
I think it was like
Probably.
top 5.
But
No,
yeah.
I
I
think
mean, they
top
spent
5.
so much money acquiring them, and as far as I know, they didn't have any other sort of marketing.
Yeah.
Put into the Mixer like
Not
environment.
really.
Like, I know there are obviously people who made their careers on Mixer, but but I didn't really hear any commercials. No like big names besides Ninja and Shroud. They didn't have. I mean, it's because Twitch has their like partnership with Amazon. You have Amazon Prime.
Right.
You got Twitch Prime. Mixer didn't really, I think, have anything like that.
Does Facebook have something like that? I don't think
no,
they
but
do,
it's
right?
Facebook.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not surprised that they kind of just blew all their money on acquiring big names and didn't actually try and, I think, invest and improve the Mixer community.
Right. Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, it really sucks because, like, I think Twitch needs, like, healthy competition.
Yeah. I agree.
And, I mean, obviously Mixer isn't it. I don't think Facebook's going to be it. It always just sucks when a potential competitor dies out. In terms of, like, for consumers, it sucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, like, all the props to Ninja and Shroud because their contracts got bought out by Facebook, so the rumors are that Ninja got, like, 30 million.
Jeez.
And Shroud got anywhere from 10 to 30 million as well.
Yeah, they're just banking so much.
It really sucks for the people who, like, made their living on Mixer because they obviously weren't getting bought out for millions of dollars.
Exactly. A lot of the smaller, like, creators.
Yeah, like, your organic people who end up making Twitch what it is, except on Mixer, like, they didn't get the chance to, like, do anything. And from what I hear, I don't know if this is true or not, but a lot of Mixer employees and, like, the smaller time Mixer streamers weren't necessarily even told until the deal was finalized, which is really shitty because
that's shady. Yeah,
that's just like, and suddenly you have a bunch of people just like, oh yeah, my line of work is now gone because, like, I don't know if you guys have looked into Facebook gaming.
Very minimal.
It's garbage.
It doesn't look great. No, I agree.
Yeah, like, I hate the UI, and it's so silly that you have to be on your account to actually, like, participate.
You have to be on your actual account.
Everybody's gonna know, like, if you're just like spamming copy pasta, they can just click on your profile and then, like, find you, and it's really bad. In terms of, like, because I like my privacy, I like my security. It's really sucky.
Say goodbye to the lurkers, man.
Yeah, and then once again, like, the big name streamers can just go back to Twitch, and probably nothing will really happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I would be scared of if I was, like, a dude, like someone who made their career on Mixer, I'd be like, I would be worried that my audience wouldn't transition, to Twitch. Or maybe they would, but maybe I would lose a portion of that.
Yeah, because I thought anyone that was partnered with Mixer, Facebook's gonna match whatever they had in their contract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So they're going to continue streaming on Facebook then?
Yeah, most likely, because they can just transfer everything over, so they don't lose. They're not exactly losing out because essentially they already lost their platform, so they're just transferring to a new one.
Yeah, but I feel like the viewership on Facebook just is not going to be there.
But I mean, I guess it's like if the viewership wasn't even there on Mixer and they're just going to transfer over, Facebook's going to maybe see a jump, maybe. But I mean, it's not. I don't know. It's just kind of obviously we don't know yet because we haven't seen, like, the transition.
Yeah, like, Mixer doesn't officially close until I think July 22nd.
Yeah, like end of July.
Yeah,
guess we'll just see. But I think only, like, a few besides. I only know of Shroud and Ninja, but I think they mentioned a few other. I know of some. I know of some Mixer people who are, I think, at this point, free agents.
Yeah, but I mean, there's King Gothalion, I think is how you pronounce his tag.
Yeah,
he was a Destiny / Borderlands streamer. He moved to Mixer, and I don't know exactly what he's doing next, but he was on Twitch before, so yeah, I feel like for him it's not going to be that hard of a transition.
It's going to be interesting because, like, you know how, like, Twitch still has Ninja's profile up and everything, kind of showcases people, but now if he comes back, I guess he just takes over the account again.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Has he actually come out and said he's going to go back to Twitch?
Because Shroud and Ninja are still at this point free agents.
Okay. Because I know that Ninja kind of like left Twitch on a sour note because of that whole issue they had with his profile.
Yeah, they were kind of abusing his name. For marketing. And
then had like the slip up with the whole like porn incident or whatever on his like page recommended. Yeah. So I'd be interested if he like maybe he goes to like YouTube gaming or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a option too.
I mean, at least from what I know of Ninja, honestly, it probably doesn't matter for him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, it's probably at this point it's just a pure business decision of who's going to offer me the best contract.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter for him, but it like, would he bolster? I guess maybe not because we just saw how Mixer failed. But would he bolster like a different platform?
Well, I think it's just because Mixer is just not like if anything, I would use Mixer last compared to like YouTube. Like it'd be like Twitch first because it's the easiest, and I think the middle would be like YouTube gaming and Facebook gaming.
Yeah, I was even looking at some statistics that have been posted about Mixer. Because I think all the streaming services have had some sort of jump in viewership ever since the quarantine has started.
Oh, right.
But Mixer's was like
it didn't change.
Abysmally small.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a 1.5% increase in viewership.
Man,
damn.
That was like talked about I think like a couple weeks ago. So it was just like kind of like a telltale sign.
Yeah.
Of, like, it's going down.
Yeah.
But,
and I think partly it's just because I think Microsoft didn't really know what to do with Mixer.
Yeah.
And Twitch does it so well with their Amazon incentive that, you just get a free sub and you already kind of move into at least someone's Twitch community, whereas a Mixer, you just had to sub. You didn't get any like free subs or like drops or anything.
Yeah.
Like thinking about it again, I think only Twitch has that kind of membership, right? Essentially, or like that incentive, because YouTube doesn't do anything with that.
Yeah, we had even talked about it like way back. Like, I think it would have been smart if Microsoft did a incentive where if you had Game Pass, then you got some sort of free subscription on Mixer or something. Because I think a lot of people have Game Pass.
Yeah,
because I think it's just a smart thing to buy.
Because I think
and there probably is a decent overlap of people who have Game Pass and stream. And there's probably an even bigger market of like, oh, I don't really know what streaming is like. I'll check it out with Mixer. And they could even have done it where people on Mixer, they got early access to next month's Game Pass. And so people could see what's going on. Then like, oh, that looks really cool. I'll get Game Pass and I'll sub to this guy because, it looks like he's having fun with that game. However, Twitch community startup.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been smart if they did. They did.
Yeah, because I don't remember if on Xbox, if I think the community, there's like a community tab, and I didn't have it at the time, but I think I saw like updates on it, and it'd show like people, you just go to the community and see people streaming, and it'd be Mixer. But I think it didn't feel like the go-to place if I'm on my computer that I,
yeah,
it's like, oh, I'll just open Twitch. But not surprised to be honest.
Yeah, that it's an interesting time.
Yeah.
That's only one of the things that's been going on this past like week.
Yeah.
Just in the past week.
I feel like this week, if anything, at this point. But yeah. You want anything else, or Ian? What about?
No. You guys have been telling me all the stuff that crazy that's been happening.
God, jump on it, Ian.
Yeah, because outside of Mixer, there's been a lot of, once again, in the content creator community, there's been a lot of, I don't even really know what the right word is. Allegations and or confirmations about the kind of like sexual misconduct and sexual assault that's been going on in like very different communities. Like we've had, this is something I didn't really hear about, but there was like a big group of like Destiny 2 content creators.
Yep.
Who are accused of sexual misconduct.
It's like just like sexual misconduct and then just like just essentially rape that was going on.
Yeah, like racism going on in the background. We've had there was like a talent management group where their CEO admitted to like sexual misconduct and potentially like grooming, and it was just all over the place. It was a mess. And it's really sad that it's like it's I think it's always sad when stuff like that happens, just because you just get to see like a darker side of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you see these people, like I'm sure like if you watch some of these streamers, some of them are like, okay, there's times where like, all right, I don't really care for these guys, but like, you know, most of the time people only see what they see on like the streams or like the YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, they don't really like know the ins and outs of what they do outside of streaming.
Yeah. I mean,
And,
that's the whole like, it's the, what is it called? It's like a para relationship. Where
like a symbiotic?
No. It's like a relationship where you feel like super connected, but the other side does not feel the same way about you. And
Oh,
it's
I
like,
see what you mean.
yeah. So they're only seeing this on camera version of these people that they feel like
very
super connected
curated
to.
persona.
Yeah. And then you get to see like, oh, this is an actual person who has a dark side and pretty garbage. So
this guy's
and like
fucking shithead.
I want to put the caveat that none of us are even like defending the accused. I think it's just, it's sad, especially because I think it's a hobby that all of us enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, when we play video games, we want to escape the hellhole that is reality. And then not even we're safe.
And, yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it's so.
There's also like, it also is kind of sad because it's the community also just kind of like falls apart when that happens too.
Yeah, like immediately it goes to finger pointing and like, oh, you support them or you support them, then it gets really messy.
Yeah. But I mean, the better part is at least it's awareness that's being spread. I think that's the good thing versus like, oh, it's just gonna happen.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's important that people get held accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially some weird thing like streamer, like when you're in a weird position like that, and you're like a popular streamer. That's like a lot of influence.
It's
I guess
always
you have.
so. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I was gonna. Go ahead.
It's just to like wrap it's a lot of like influence you have, and so there are and the people who watch you tend to be. Not always. There are different kinds of audiences, but like if you're a streamer who is maybe not specifically geared towards, but finds themselves being watched by a younger audience, and you have like, there have been cases where people have used that power and that influence to take advantage of people, and it's just a sad side to see of something that could actually be so positive. Cool. But what were you going to say?
It's always interesting to me because I've seen the same kind of scenarios we're talking about happen in like the YouTube community, where these people just have so much like influence and clout, where it's slightly, it just feels weird to me.
Yeah.
That it's just like, it's a random person you might not recognize on the street, but because they're really funny, or they make music for a living. It's just like they held so much influence, and like they'll have parties at their house, and part of it I think in terms of the like streamer clout thing. A lot of the streamers I watch just are their own entity. They're not part of groups, and so it's weird. I'm like peeking through the window into Twitch politics.
Yeah,
you find out that like, oh, this group of people, they had a party at their house and all this stuff went down. I'm just like, whoa, it's weird. Because like one of the streamers I watch is like, yeah, I hate going outside. I hate being with other people in real life. I just want to hang out with them online and play video games. I never go to parties. I don't go outside. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm about. And then you hear this like, oh yeah, we had a Twitch party. There was like 40 streamers at the house. What's going on?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Someone I listen to, who's a YouTuber, talks about how there have been and are like YouTube orgy parties, and it's like, what?
Yeah, it's
What's
just so
happening?
weird.
Yeah, it's such like some like oh, we're an elite world kind of thing. I don't know. It seems so
Like it starts to make sense when you just think like, oh, it's just like, I mean, YouTube and Twitch are just entertainment.
Yeah,
and
just
it's
new age
so
entertainment.
prevalent in the entertainment industry to be like,
yeah.
oh, if you do me a favor, I'll do you a favor. Like, sleep your way to the top or whatever. It's just, it's so gross and icky.
It's funny because it's like, this is like quote unquote our generation's version of like essentially just like celebrity.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're seeing internet celebrities and they're mirroring what happened with like Hollywood celebrities.
Yeah. Except now it's like, oh, this is internet. Oh, this is
Except,
like,
yeah, now it's
hard.
like people can find records so fast.
so fast because
Everything's online.
Like like it's crazy. Like just to see like even like talking about like the Destiny, like that everything happening in that Destiny community with BSK. It's like the amount of stuff that was screen grabbed is like insane. Like how it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
there's
you're
like,
not
there's Discord screenshots, Twitch screenshots,
like Twitter,
just
like
Steam stuff.
Yeah.
It's
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Woo!
I have this thing about like celebrities and streamers too, that where it's just like it's not about them. It should always be about the community that you're trying to build and those people. When it becomes like a thing about you, it's just such a negative.
Yeah,
Like
the ego feedback just goes crazy.
Yeah,
When
and then you'll have these people who are like they're like, oh yeah, I'm this like I'm
this
Xbox
guy.
for life kind of thing, or like
Yeah.
PS4 bro. The fraternity is just so strong that it becomes a toxic environment, I think.
Yeah, and I think that just comes over time. Like you just build up that community, and eventually it becomes like that mindset, and people just it's fandom. It's like
you
there's
see it
always
everywhere.
levels of
I mean,
fandom.
it's in
You see it
politics
everywhere.
too.
That's
Like
what I was like,
fucking
you see it
the
everywhere,
people who are
honestly.
like America. It's like, all right,
Yeah, like the Super Patriots.
yeah.
But anyway,
Anyway.
so moving away from that. So I got some dope shit since Ian doesn't got it, and I'm just gonna drop in some stuff since Jesus fuck.
Go for it.
Essentially like last week. It feels like it's been a while though, because like when I just put this stuff down. Just like for instance, like I saw like of course like EA did their stuff last week.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the reason why we're not really talking about EA stuff because there's not much to talk about. If you actually watched it, like there's a couple things, but it's like here and there, whatever, or stuff as that's cool. Like Skate, they have it, but nothing to show. I think the big one would be like Star Wars Squadrons.
Right. I think that's the one that like a lot of us are excited about.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I think it's just like we'll probably talk about it in a later podcast because our editor's I want to get our editor into this too, Jason. Just like talk about it. I think
He is the Star Wars man.
He is the Star Wars man. Yeah, I think once it gets closer, we'll have like a solid topic on it, and we'll probably talk. We'll just talk. About it more.
Sorry, I just thought of some cool shit. But you go ahead since you're talking first. Go ahead. I'll add in mine later.
Yeah. Well, just that dropped. I think I wrote. So Pokemon Snap, like they dropped a trailer for anyone, or it's called New Pokemon Snap. So anyone that's played Pokemon Snap on 64, probably gonna date some people. I mean, we're not that old, but whatever. But
a lot of people. I think a lot of people in our generation know N64.
Anyone
Pokemon
that played
Snap.
anyone played that knows exactly what that is. It's cool. I think that's just like that's actually funny because I think that was like a meme for a bit in some groups. It's like, oh, that's fine. Dropped. Holy shit. And what about you? Actually, I'll let you drop. Okay.
So this is a game series that I've actually been following for a while. And there are 2 recent editions that I have that have come out semi recently. But the game series it's a series of games called The Rusty Lake.
What?
They're called The Rusty Lake.
I have not heard of that.
Really? Oh man. So it's they're point and click games. They're like point and click puzzle type games. And it's banana pants. It's crazy. They're all it's a series of games and they're all tied together, but it's this big picture thing that you only get bits and pieces through each game, and all of these games are free. You can get them all on I think you can get them all on Steam or something. And they have apps too. I don't know if you have to pay for the app, but I do know that they're free and they're really interesting. The first one is you go to this hotel called like the Rusty Lake Hotel, and all the people there are actually like animal people.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of it kind of like takes you through like a routine, and then you start to realize, oh, we're killing the animals and then feeding, like one by one you're like killing the different animals and then feeding them to the other animals for like the next night's dinner.
Okay.
It's crazy shit, but it's all like weird psychedelic, not psychedelic, but weird psychological type stuff, and it's all like it gives you like this eerie, like the atmosphere in that game, great.
Okay.
But then playing through the games, you find out that it's like in like 1930 something, this guy found the like elixir of life, and it's like generational, and you start to realize that the animal people were like representative of real people, and just, it all starts to like make sense, and there's like this black cube that you kind of like figure out, kind of I think like represents the soul or something like that. It's a wild like trip to go in. It's such a wild trip. But and so like another cool thing about them is they kind of try to they're free, and they do a really good job about like kind of like if you want to get into it, they like give you like fun Easter eggs and stuff. There's one called The White Door, and it takes place in this you get like admitted into this hospital type thing, and then they actually have like in the game you find like a link to like a website or something, or you can just like Google The White Door Hospital or whatever, and it takes you to like an actual website, and they have like an actual website with like doctors and stuff and like information and like a phone number you can call, and you can call the phone number and something happens. And so if you're playing this like in real time as these games are coming out, you can get so involved in this rabbit hole of craziness. It's just such a cool like experiment, I guess, that they're doing. I don't know. It's great. You should definitely check them out.
Interesting.
That's
Interesting.
See, I think, Luke, I want to say, I think Star would get really into them, but I also don't know if she would be able to get into the like creepy factor of it.
Dude, if it's creepy, she'll at least look at it.
Okay. I really think she'd be into them. I think she could get into them at least.
Okay.
Yeah. They're a fun trip for sure.
I think actually one more thing, because I know like for anyone out there that cares. So essentially Crash Bandicoot 4 dropped.
That came out.
That,
or the trailer
or
dropped.
they announced it randomly too. So I think that was pretty cool. Did you guys ever play that? No, right? I don't think so.
I played Crash Bandicoot Warped on the PS1.
PS1? Okay.
That's the only one I had.
Okay.
I played Crash Team Racing,
Yeah.
I've played, I think, one other one, but I know the best one I know is Warped.
Yeah. So it's really funny, like just really quick. I think it's with the trailer they like talked about how many you guys should watch it. It's just funny because like they mentioned, oh, how many times have you fought this guy? They're like 3 times, and
Right,
technically
they
that's
don't even
only
know.
they don't even mention PS2. Like all the PS2 games didn't happen. Like they just like
Just
disregard.
casually retcon
They
everything.
just retconned all that. So I think that's hilarious. But that's pretty cool. I have the trilogy on my Switch, so I want to play that too. You know, my stupid backlog, but okay.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Get to
One
that.
day the backlog will be.
One day
it will be
I'll
purged.
actually work on it.
One addendum I want to put on is the Rusty Lake games. The reason I found them was because I watch YouTube dude / Twitch streamer Jesse Cox, and so a lot of I borrowed a lot of his description for those games. But yeah, I just want to add that addendum on.
Makes sense.
If you want to like watch somebody is like really entertaining and like is really into those games, definitely check that out.
But yeah, on that note, I think we're gonna take a really quick break. Probably just put something like 2 seconds. I don't know.
Music break.
Music, gotta get some water and all that. But yeah, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Got back from a break. Hopefully it went well. Hopefully, I wonder if there's music. Anyway,
We couldn't exactly get all the music, but
budget.
gotta work on that music budget.
But anyway, so after all that, let's just dive into the main topic. So, with Last of Us Part 2 dropping last week at this point,
there's been a lot of controversy about that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just everything about it in terms of the actual content of the game, reviews, which is primarily we're going to be talking about reviews.
Mainly reviews, but this is kind of like it. The reason why I brought this up is because of essentially that game's review. So essentially, like the big critics are claiming, like at least based on Metacritic, this is what everyone points to, is the game's got a 95. At the time when I looked at it, it was 95 out of 100, which is supposed to be like an amazing score for a game, right? But when you look to the side of it, there's like the user score, which was like 3.4. I forget.
I've seen it. It's sitting the 3.4 to 3.6 range.
Is that out of 100 or is that out of 10? I can't remember. Like I looked at it and I totally forgot. I
honestly, I don't really pay attention to Metacritic.
Yeah, but essentially it was just like a very stark difference, and it was, of course, everyone at first was like, "Well, what?" Anyone that doesn't know Last of Us or anything that dropped or like the leaks or anything about it, it's like, oh well, why is that the case, right? But when you look into it, I know there's some leaks about like the story, like just like how they.
Yeah, basically the plot of the game was leaked. A month or 2 before release?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so that was its own debacle, and obviously a lot of people were upset because they didn't like how the story was going, and a lot of the user reviews were just bombing the game.
Yeah.
So that is partly why the review score is really low in the users, but there are a lot of people who are legitimately upset and think the game is not very good. And so we're just kind of talking about reviews.
But I mean, and then just to add to that, like for the game, and this kind of ties in for like how the game was marketed too. From what I remember, I saw like the trailer. Like I know some people are claiming, oh, it's deceit. Like some people have reviewed it badly because they faked out like their marketing. Like their trailers were like framed differently, so it wouldn't, like, it had one point looked like a character was in it, and then in a certain spot, and like it just looks like it was cut differently. So
there was a lot of misleading marketing.
Yeah,
going up to release.
When you brought that up, we were discussing it a little bit earlier, Harrison, but you brought that up. I thought of, on the flip side of that, Marvel did that. with
Yeah,
their movies.
no, I was gonna mention that.
And they were and that was like from what I heard, the general public reaction was like, "Oh wow, that's so smart! This is so cool that they're doing this."
Yeah,
and now you have Last of Us 2
the-
getting flack for it, which is interesting.
And it's and I wonder, and I was gonna bring that up. Do you guys think it's just because, like, for instance, like Marvel did it with Avengers Endgame, but is it because they did so, or not just Endgame, but also Infinity War, and then some other of their movies, like it's not just Marvel too. They're just a big one that have done it. I'm sure other entertainment movies.
I just think of Marvel being the one because it was such like a big thing about how they gave what's his name, the guy who plays Spider-Man,
Tom Holland.
They gave Tom Holland like
script.
multiple different scripts. You know, it was a big thing about like no spoilers. They even did like the Thanos requires silence or whatever.
Right.
Like they made a big play about that.
So my thing was, do you guys think it's because the movie did so well that it's like, oh wow, that's actually really smart, trying to like just hide plots about the movie, while with Last of Us, if it had a better, like for instance, if the story was just done better, do you think it would have been received differently? That
like, would they be praised for
like
that as
yeah,
well?
would they,
or it wouldn't even be an issue kind of thing?
Yeah, it would have been an issue.
Yeah, I think so much of The Last of Us 2's immediate reactions to its release are just going to be tainted by the leaks. Like, I think if the leaks weren't ever a thing, people, I think, would be maybe a little more accepting of the changes. But at the same time, partly I want to say The Last of Us 2 has so much focus on characters and not like a very large cast. Like, really, The Last of Us was about Joel and Ellie.
Right.
And you obviously had your supporting cast, but it was always about the two of them and their relationship. Not with just each other, but kind of the world they were in and the other characters. But I feel like that the scenario where you have certain characters in The Last of Us 2 in the trailer, and it's misdirected to be a different character in the actual game feels a little more to me disingenuous, because both games are trying to be super focused on a core cast of characters. And when you have a character who typically represents this thing and they're not there when they look like they would be, feels strange. I had another point. Oh, yeah. Also, I think because of The Last of Us 2's overall plot, I think they needed those bait and switches to keep people engaged.
Okay.
Because I think if more people knew overall what the plot was about, I don't think people would be as interested.
You're talking about in Last of Us 2?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
And that's partly why so many people did review bomb and just were not happy with The Last of Us 2, is because of the plot. And it's one of those, it reminds me almost of, it's kind of the inverse, but with the trailers for Marvel's Age of Ultron, they were depicting Ultron as this really menacing, really intelligent, like credible threat to the Avengers. And in the movie, he was just kind of like a Tony Stark clone.
Yep.
It feels disingenuous.
Right.
And that's kind of the same feeling I get from The Last of Us 2's marketing, where they show one thing and it's actually a different way. And it, to me, I just didn't like the other way they were doing.
But I guess isn't that the same for the Endgame stuff? Because, like, for instance, they had like a scene where all these Avengers are running, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be a dope scene. I can't wait to see that. But then you don't see it.
You mean for Infinity War?
Did I say Endgame?
Yeah, you said
Endgame. Yeah, Infinity War. Like, there's like that whole lineup of like, oh, this team up, and they're all like running towards the camera.
Like,
you see certain characters in it. Wouldn't
that
be the
doesn't
same?
annoy me as much, because the Avengers movies are such a huge cast where I can kind of forgive some characters. Like, Hawkeye isn't really in Infinity
Or I guess
War.
like for instance, like it was Hulk. Like Hulk was depicted in the movie, yet he wasn't in that spot.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think it's just more with Infinity War, because it is about the Avengers as a whole. It doesn't bug me as much. Whereas with The Last of Us 2 being a game that's trying to focus about very specific characters,
Right.
it just doesn't match up to me. It's kind of the equivalent of like if they did Logan and the trailers were depicting like scenes of Jean Grey, but in the movie itself, it's a completely different character. It just feels like
okay, I get
it's not as honest because like when I play The Last of Us 2, I want to see these characters, and when I see these characters instead, it just annoys me because I was led to believe like when I watch the Avengers, I know they're gonna have really cool like badass team ups. It doesn't bug me when it doesn't look exactly like the trailer.
Yeah, I get you.
No, yeah, I can see that. It's like The Last of Us 2, since it has a smaller cast, those characters are much more potent and
right,
and like you said, what they represent and
yeah,
and their relationships with each other, since there aren't other extraneous, not extraneous, but other multiple relationships going on to kind of
like kind of balance it,
fill out the pool, I guess, kind of like fill out the space. You have only these few relationships that are like such a focal point.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and especially, I guess
I can see that.
We should have prefaced this. We are going to talk about Last of Us 2. We're not going to explicitly spoil anything, but we are discussing broadly certain plot points, so there will be lots of discussion. So if you want to play Last of Us 2, we won't try and spoil anything, but I would just keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's also, since Last of Us 2 is such a character-driven game, when you have a character shown to be in a scene, and it's not just a different character, but a different character who just isn't as compelling or as good, it just kind of feels like an extra slap in the face.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, so...
Do you just mean like
I'm gonna mark this as a spoiler moment.
Okay.
Where in the trailers, there's a scene where it looks like Ellie's talking to Joel, and in the game, it's one of her new companions, and
it changes the whole like what that conversation
the entire dynamic
is
is different.
Yeah.
Especially because like when you look at all of The Last of Us, Joel was a very compelling and interesting character to follow. Whereas the new character, I think his name is Jesse. I can't remember. He's just not as interesting to me. And so it's just you're just having like a downgrade in your gameplay experience. And since Last of Us 2 is such a character-driven game, when the quality of the characters just drops when it's supposed to be an impactful moment, it just feels bad to me. So.
Okay. And then I guess another thing was, if you guys don't want to add anything, I think another thing that was brought up was Sony kind of has a double standard with this game, where compared to its policies with every other game. Did you guys hear about that? Or,
you probably need to explain more what you mean by double standards.
So essentially, double standards and like there's essentially Sony's usually pretty stringent now with like showing anything explicit, like, oh, okay, this is like kind of sexual. You can't, like, for instance, with Devil May Cry 5, they kind of forced the port for for PS4, like, for instance, is, oh, this could be flashing something, that now kind of cover that up, right? So anything sexual, they like kind of have you like, oh, blind it with lighting or something like that, right?
Oh, gotcha.
And then every other game, and then like some other games that like for indies is, oh, they have to like change their port for the PS4 to like match their policy, because it's, oh, this, like, for instance, some anime games is like, oh, this is got some big titties, kind of got to cover that up.
Yeah.
But then you go to Switch, which is like a family console. It's like, oh no, you don't have to do anything.
That's go, big on each
Right.
It's even like, it's funny because in the act of censoring some, because I've seen some of the comparisons, in the act of censoring some of the game covers, it makes it look even worse.
Yeah, exactly. And or it's just some gameplay just looks weird too. So it's like,
okay, that makes sense.
So with that, Sony and this is just to say this, the game has a sex scene. That's all. That's it. But it has a sex scene straight up. I don't know. I don't remember how explicit it is. Oh, and just to preface, I have not played this game. I've just watched playthroughs also. Because you both haven't played either.
I think we all have. Yeah, I think we've all just seen.
I've watched a full playthrough.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've only seen some parts. I haven't watched the full.
But with just to add context, so that just to be upfront. But essentially, there's a sex scene, and they are totally okay with it. So that's my other thing with reviews. It's like, wait, what?
Do they?
I just want to bring that up.
Is it? Do you think it's like more explicit than?
I mean,
some
the
stuff
amount
that they
of
have
explicit it gets to is that it shows female breast.
Oh, okay. And
you could argue maybe around the context of the sex scene, maybe it's a little more inappropriate because they're not just doing it missionary style to make children. Like, they're having sex because they want to have sex for fun, and then maybe it's that's not family friendly. But no, I understand. It's funny because I was talking to one of our other friends just about The Last of Us 2 in general, and I didn't know about the sex scene at the time. And then he told me he phrased it very crudely, and it was really funny. Because, anyway, I looked into it, and I remember reading, I think it was the Naughty Dog vice president had mentioned, like, the reasoning for the sex scene and the reason they're not censoring it is because it's meant to be, like a tasteful, intimate moment.
Oh, okay.
And it's not really to me.
I don't think it was to anyone, but.
So so their argument is we get to show this because we're doing it tastefully.
Yeah, like it's meant to be like tasteful and intimate and like a mature moment between these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'm paraphrasing most of it, but
yeah.
like verbatim, he said because it's tasteful. I don't know.
So, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to add that on too because I'm sure that's like a lot of things go into a review. So
it to me. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. No, I was good.
Okay, it's to me. I feel like, you are starting to hear this conversation more now that some of these AAA games are becoming very heavily story driven.
Mm-hmm.
But you see a lot of comparisons of like AAA games to Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Where, because our game is like really dark and mature, we're on the same level as a Hollywood movie. Like we deserve the same respect as a Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I feel like Naughty Dog's kind of, giving them a pat on the back. We're like, see, we're having a mature, serious sex scene. And we shouldn't censor it because Hollywood doesn't do that. And we're hitting the same points as a Hollywood because our storytelling is deep and gritty. And like, look, they have sex. Whereas if you have like beach volleyball, dead or alive, free jiggle physics, it's like, that's not deep. That's not what Hollywood wants. They want deep and gritty. That's kind of where I feel like they're coming from.
And I mean, and you also mentioned Naughty Dog, but this goes higher than that. This is just Sony straight up because Sony, like, this is all anything under PS4, like any PS4 game. So it's like, it's not. I think if anything, Sony's just like saying, "Hey, this is Naughty Dog. Like, they're with us. We're just." Do you feel like they're just doing that just like as because it's our product, we can do that,
right?
But anyone else can't.
They're not like following their own guidelines that they set out.
Yeah. But because it's like, we know that this game is big. We know that Naughty Dog's like one of their big developers. So it's like, let's just let them do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't want to speculate too much, but like, I think some people could definitely see it that way where, Naughty Dog makes us like the best AAA games. They get a pass from our regular rules.
Right. Which is definitely not a good
stupid.
look.
No, it's not. It's really stupid.
Yeah.
If that is what's happening.
Even if that is, but I mean, no, but I think the big thing was like when the game dropped, like another developer, it was like indie developer, is like, hey, I have to adjust this, but just to let you know, in the Switch version, this is fine, but for Sony, I have to do this. So, but it was like, I think it was like the same day the game launched. Someone
I'm
dropped that,
trying
but-
to remember. So to give a little bit of context, I did work at a game studio for a while, and we did publish to the 3 major consoles: Switch, Xbox, and PS4. And throughout the whole publishing process, there are a huge set of checklists, depending on which publisher you have or developer, of like the kind of content you can have in your game.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember because it's been so long, but it does seem hypocritical to me that Naughty Dog gets that kind of pass where other games don't.
Yeah, it's super critical.
Yeah.
But
It's
moving on from that, because I feel like we're like kind of like just
Yeah,
kinda
we're
dwelling on
stalling
Last
a
of Us.
little bit.
It's just so funny because it's just anyway. But going to the main thing is more so with the video game reviews, with the bombing and everything, like or review bombings. I know some people have been like, oh, it's like it always goes back to the argument. Like for instance, like Metacritic gave it like such a high score, IGN gave it such a high score. Like certain like big reviewers have given it high scores, and yet it doesn't match like the audience, right? So I think one thing everyone always goes back to is, oh, Naughty Dog's just paying, like Sony Naughty Dog's just paying these guys just to give it good.
right. They're getting like bought
good
out.
They're just getting bought out. Do you guys ever feel that like on big games?
No.
Yeah.
So with this getting like a 10 out of 10, that's deserved.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Ian.
It's I don't know. I need some time. If you got a thing, go ahead. I need some
Okay.
time to formulate.
Yeah.
So I would, just before we started recording, I watched a video, by Alana Pierce.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think we
for-
all said.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I sent you
So
guys
for
that,
those who
yeah.
don't know, she did work at IGN, and she did write reviews and stuff.
She's a former
But-
IGN employee. She writes a lot of stuff and currently works at Funhouse right now.
Yeah.
Yes, currently Funhouse. Yeah.
I don't think like the studio game publisher dynamic, I think, isn't as nefarious in terms of reviews.
Right.
Alana did touch on this. I think part of it is the journalists and the review websites are more concerned about what the fans think. Because I mean, she Alana explicitly said that developers never paid reviewers for anything. They never
Right.
offered incentives
To like
or
say this game's
bonuses if
good.
they gave it a good review.
Yeah.
She was mainly saying that a lot of writers are more worried about what people will say about the review than what the developers say. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised because based on even just The Last of Us 2, you've seen like terrible things said on people who gave it a good review and people who did a bad review. And speaking as someone who very briefly did write for, I wrote some video game articles about just anything and everything. No company ever reached out to me or my editors. It was just about, this is what I feel. And I feel like most writers tend to feel like, this is how I feel. And I mean, for a lot of people, I think they do like The Last of Us 2 a lot. And they think it is a very good game. And that's just how they feel. And if people don't like it, then they don't like it.
Yeah.
Something that she mentions also in the videos, she talks about how she felt like, I don't want to like misquote this, but she felt like writers write
They write for
they
their
write for
peers,
their peers.
right? Yeah,
and not for the audience.
and so it more becomes like a critique of art. It so like with this whole thing where there's like the critic score is outstanding and the audience score is abysmal. It like this we see that in like Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, you'll see like the critic score. I've seen this a lot of times. I can't think of a specific example, but I know I've seen movies where like the critic score is like insane and then the audience score is abysmal, or vice versa. Sometimes it's the exact opposite. So I would, it'd be very hard for me to believe that like a reputable journalist company is being like bought out for their like good review, right? Because also as a company I don't know, and maybe I don't know how that whole like business side of that works, but I feel like you want to have honest feedback or else you're not gonna know what the heck you're doing.
Like, yeah, because I think, for instance, just to branch off that, it's like, I would think a game developer would want an honest review, because then it's like, oh, what if we make a second version of this game? Then we could just kind of tweak that and try to make it a little bit better. But on the flip side, what if like that's their direction? It's like, oh no, we want to do this. So then they're just going to disregard feedback.
Yeah, and you know, that can happen. Is it a smart business move? I don't know. But and then I guess you get into the argument of like, then they had the embargoes, so like you couldn't say anything about it until the release day.
Yeah,
that's the part that annoys me.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay.
Is that's, I feel like, a little more purposeful in terms of what Naughty Dog and Sony wanted.
Yeah.
Is and I think part of it is they did have to react to the early leaks, where they probably had to do damage control about the game, and part of damage control is limiting the amount of time people can actually talk about the game until people get a chance to actually play the game. Like, I think if you saw all these reviews 2 weeks before the game came out, it's just more time potentially where the game is seen as a negative. Whereas if you wait until the day of and then everything comes out, more people don't have time to do their research.
Right.
And just speaking of like review embargoes or review delays in general, I just think they're not very useful for anything. Like, at the end of the day, I think this is something Alana talked about, is statistically, reviews aren't a huge factor in if someone buys a game.
Yeah.
There are obviously people who take a lot of stock in what reviews say before buying a game, but for the majority, it doesn't matter as much. But even then, reviews, I don't think, reviews don't do so much for the game where you have to hide what the review is.
Yeah, I mean,
if that makes sense.
No, it's in case in point, because right now, Last of Us 2 Part 2 is like top selling. It shot over Animal Crossing, I think, too.
Yeah, I think it's like the 4th best selling PS4 title or something.
Yeah, so it's
4th best selling Sony,
something like that. I can't remember, but essentially, I mean, case in point, it really shows that like reviews do not matter. It's just essentially at the point of, do you want to buy the game or not? And obviously a lot of people do.
And they shouldn't matter too much either, because you are talking about something, there's at least a good portion of this that is subjective. And so if you're talking about that, you're going to have a critic's not going to know the right answer. He's going to know his opinion or her opinion.
And that's the hard part, is like, it's the person, like the other factor that people don't think about, because they're always like, oh, IGN did this, but it's like, oh, well, some people are, I'm like, well, what about the person that actually had to play test it or like had to review the game?
Right.
Like, what if they actually genuinely really liked the game, and that's why they feel that?
Yeah, that's what I said before. Like, some people just like the game, and they like the game, they're going to have a good review. That's just kind of how it works.
I think IGN tries to do it. Going back to the subjective objectivity thing, I think IGN tries to make it like objective, but by having their own kind of weird ranking system. But
it's
I think they should just remove the rankings.
I think it's objective. Oh, yeah, I think it's objective only because like when they say 10 out of 10, they always like underline this does not mean it's a perfect game.
Right.
It's a quote unquote master.
And the only reason I say it's like they try to make it objective is because they at least have some kind of plan that they're following. It's some kind of like checklist, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, it's got to meet some criteria. For debate,
but they at least have some kind of thing to base their argument off of.
And actually, speaking of like the scaling, like in her video, Alana even mentioned like it was just interesting because I noticed it, but I never thought of it. How on the scaling system, you'd think a 5 out of 10 is like average, but it's not.
I remember that. Yeah,
it's actually
a 5 out of 10 is a legitimate 5 out of 10 mediocre.
Yeah,
like that is what IGN states is a 5 out of 10 is a mediocre.
Yeah, while like 7 is actually the average because you would expect a lot of games to be actually good, which I thought at that point was really. I was like, wow, that's actually. I've noticed that, because it's always like, oh, when I buy a game, if it's at least a 7, yeah, sure, I'll get it. But if it's like a 6 or below, okay.
I think.
But,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna go into a different thing.
Well, just about the like rating system. I know we're talking a little bit about this with our editor, and he brought up a good point where it's like. The game, a video game as a multimedia piece, it has a lot of different factors to it. I think more so than most forms of media do. And so when you're rating, if you're trying to give someone an idea of like what this game is, I think like giving a rating system. Breaking down those factors, so saying gameplay versus music versus storytelling, breaking down those factors and maybe rating those would be an interesting way to have a more detailed review.
It's like when the review embargo was lifted, those were the most effective reviews for me. I know several people or several organizations, they just had an unscored review, but they broke down like, oh, we like these things and we didn't like these things.
Yeah.
I think it's so much more effective to hear about the game itself and not just the overall score. Because like there are a lot of 9s and 10 games that I just personally don't like because of, oh, I think the music is bad. Oh, I think the level design is bad, or the gameplay itself is bad. I don't like it. But if I only went off the score, you would think like, oh, it's a good game, I'm gonna get it.
Right. Yeah.
I think we should just move away from the scoring system. A lot of the best reviews I've read, just overall, are those long term, and part of it is like, part of I think just the nature of game journalism. Is that people want to see the number and that's it.
Yeah, I will say because like personally, I used to read a lot of those reviews, but then it finally just got to like, oh, I'm just scrolling by. I'm just curious how well does this game do overall, and it's so I'm like I'm probably like part of one of those people. It's just this game's a 7, cool, all right.
So yeah, it's like this is gonna sound bad, but I'm gonna say it. It's not meant to be bad or offensive, but like the attention span of people isn't very long. And they don't want to read stuff. They want to know, like, they either have a preconceived notion of, like, this game is good, it deserves a 9 or 10. And if you don't give me a 9 or 10, you're bad. Or the opposite, where this game is bad, you give it a 5 or you're bad. The long-term reviews just don't really have a place in, like, the mainstream AAA game journalism scene.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see that change, because you guys remember how long those videos used to be, too? Like, even just like, because those videos were based off those, like, off the written reviews, and most time
Which videos are we talking?
No, so like for instance, I used to watch like GameStop and like they
Oh.
do reviews, and their reviews were like I think like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and it would go breaking down each part, like we said, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this part, like let's talk about gameplay, let's talk about the music, let's talk, like they would break it down.
I know there's
then
been
now-
some YouTubers that do that too.
Yeah, YouTubers do it now.
I love those
Yeah.
reviews.
Those are better now because it's like because the big wow, I can't think of the word, but like for instance, like all the IGNs and all like the GameStops and all that, stop
Corporation.
doing that. I
Companies.
don't want to say that, but
Okay.
like a lot of the like the big time like reviewers are now having to switch to, and this is probably because of like YouTube or like Luke said, like the attention span of like everyone now is like way shorter, and now it went from like a 20-minute review to like a 7 or 5-minute review.
Mm.
And it's like, how much can you fit and how much can you explain? But I guess on the flip side, my argument would be like, oh, like for instance, Ian, you go to a party and you talk to me, like, oh, explain this game. I'm like, all right, I got like a few minutes. Can you explain it really quick?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it depends on, I guess it's like time and place, of course. But
You would never
it's
find
just
me at
like-
a party.
Stay inside.
Especially with COVID. God, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Right. So going. I want to like
Going
go
back,
back
we-
and
I
bring
feel
it
like-
to
yeah.
this. Is the point that she made that historically or whatever reviews have not been effective in
Yeah.
people's decision of buying games.
Yeah.
Do you think? God, I had a point and I lost it. Embargo. No, so
I'm like
so
thinking of things that
with people, like if that's not, if that is true, then I guess what's
the point of the review?
Yeah.
Are you trying to think of like? Oh, okay.
no, I had a different point, but
Was it like how do people figure out if they want the game or not without a review?
that was it. That was it. That was my
Okay.
question. Was not that one, but something similar. It was. Do you think people have already decided? At what point do you think people have decided to like buy the game or not? Like, is there a point in the process of the marketing and the game coming out and all that? Is there like a point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy this game no matter what. Like, I just will buy it. Unless something catastrophic occurs in terms of like the game, like maybe some
think, like-
maybe some make or break thing with the game comes out, but
I think it's just. I think one big thing would be like if you have ties to like that franchise or that series, you probably will get it.
right,
Like the general public, I think will do that. Like someone that's just like, oh, like for instance, Call of Duty. I like Call of Duty. Like someone's like, oh, I like Call of Duty. Oh, I'll get the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that great, but for some reason, people still buy the game.
right. It's that like brand loyalty, or I guess in this case
Yeah,
it's not a
like,
brand,
it
but
could-
that like
it's brand
loyalty.
loyalty.
Yeah.
It's like that loyalty.
And especially
So,
people
like-
who loved one are. There's no
Most
reason why
likely
they
are
wouldn't
gonna-
get to, right? If they
Yeah.
loved one.
Most likely they'll get it. I think as you can tell by sales, the general public will probably still buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, and it's like, I think the other thing would be, I'm gonna buy the game because most likely people buy like maybe 2 or 3 games, like big game, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a big one.
Most people don't buy like 8 AAA games a year,
Yeah, it's like
Right.
you gotta pick and
or they do and they only play 3.
yeah. So like, for instance, like Luke's played Horizon. He said he's gonna get Horizon first day, but that's because the game's actually really good. But I mean and I think I think maybe there's expectation too, even though people just,
Sure.
like, because for instance, like for me, I try to stay away from spoilers, so I'm like, oh, I expect this game to be good. Shoot myself in the foot maybe and get a bad game, but
Yeah, like you never expect the sequel to just regress super bad.
Yeah. Or like, and another thing is like, for instance, Destiny
I don't-
1, it made progress, and all of a sudden Destiny 2 drops, and it's like, wait, it regressed.
Yeah, and they
what the fuck?
they changed so many.
I
things.
would
And then I
would
left
disagree
for, like, 2 years.
with that. I think I think overall sequels have not had a good track record. But
Really? You think so?
I think
In
so.
general?
Just in general.
Or you just mean at all? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's general.
Well, do
There's
you
like a
consider
cer-
sequels to be like a direct continuation or just more in the same franchise? Because like Legend
Kingdom
of
Hearts
Zelda,
or Legend of Zelda, yeah.
like they're not technically sequels, but
yeah.
like they're on the same franchise, and I think they've all done relatively well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say they
You've
have.
got like the Jack and Daxter
so-
series.
Yeah, I wouldn't count like
I can say that for movies.
Zelda.
I feel like I can say
yeah
that
for movie like
but I
you have
don't
like
know-
National Treasure 1 and then you have National Treasure
But
2
like
and
games,
that
I
was
feel
awful.
like
Dare you?
No, National Treasure 1 was a great movie. The second one?
See, I think the better. I don't see. I don't even remember the second one, so maybe you're right.
maybe
I
you're
was,
right.
I was gonna say the Shrek series,
Oh my god.
like Shrek 3, 4, 5. We're just like, why?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
What have you done?
yeah.
What milked cow
but I think
is
with-
out in that field, man?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like with movies, I think it's kind of easier to say that, but with games,
Do you think it's different?
I think there's a hope. I feel like it's a little bit different because they're like, for instance, development time is longer
Mm.
in general. So I would fucking hope that you
Like,
have time to
there
figure
are
out.
some games that are like.
There-
I think if you look to the sports games, I know there's a lot of controversy over like
Oh, it's
the
just
NBK
incremental.
series,
Yeah,
or even like the
just
WWE game series.
like they just make tweaks here and there, and oh, let's just slap on like
Yeah.
the next year.
I feel like most AAAs
Tri-
tend to have
A
improved sequels for the most part.
Positive increase.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
But-
I'm trying to think of. It's such a huge subjective
Mhm.
question, but to me, the easiest one for me right now is The Last of Us. The Last of Us was great. The Last of Us 2 was not very good in my opinion.
Right.
And I
But
mean,
other than that, I'm trying to think,
Yeah.
and then just to
and
slap
I
onto that,
can't really think of any.
just to add on to that about the reviews, it's like for Last of Us,
Uh-huh.
the gameplay. I've heard like the gameplay is great because the gameplay is better than the first, or like the scenery is better than the first. Like there's aspects of the game that are like I've been reading, it's obviously better,
Mm.
but then it's just the story bogs it down so much.
Interesting. Yeah. So
So I mean, so it's just I think it really does come down to like when you review like. Where was I going with this? I lost my train of thought too.
Is it?
Fuck.
it's been a day. Is it
It's been a fucking
because like having those different facets be individually graded, would that give like consumers a
I think
better
that
idea of
helps.
what they're getting, and therefore
Yeah.
would reviews be more valuable?
Just valuable? I would say yes, but as you can tell with just how reviews have been changing over time, obviously it's been moving away from that, which kind of sucks.
Mm.
But it's really funny because it's like when Jason mentioned that, and then when you guys are talking about it, I'm like, whoa, I've seen it on Steam a lot of times when I look at the
Yeah.
review.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you look down and it's like, oh, these guys are like fucking saints. Thank God they broke down. Like this is how I would rate gameplay. This is how I would rate like the sound.
Right?
This is how I
Yeah,
would rate.
people
I was like,
have
I was like,
paragraphs like sectioned off by dash. Yeah, I know exactly
and then
what you're
even
talking about.
even their TLDRs are like here, like it's like based on like good, okay, great,
Mhm.
right? For instance, and it's like, oh, these checkboxes check off like, oh, this is what this game is. Oh, this is how I'd rate this. Now here's my paragraph of how everything goes.
Yep.
So I mean, then I think that's just how people want to consume reviews, and even then, at the end of the day, I think reviews are just meant to like help purchase.
I think Luke's
I
right though. I think because something Alana mentioned in her video also was I think it. I might be mixing up my sources, but she said something about most people are just buying like AAA games, right?
Yeah,
That was in that. Okay, yeah. And I kind of like I kind of realized that maybe I'm not the average game because I buy like a bunch of indie games and like I think we all do. We're all like more invested than the average person. I would say.
I was gonna
than
say,
the
yeah,
average.
if
gamer.
anything,
we
like,
are definitely
we are-
not average.
Yeah.
like anyone
for a
listening
variety
to
of
us.
And
different
so I guess it's
reasons.
just like a wake up, or I don't want to say a wake up, but a reality check where it's like,
it's a reality check.
Yeah.
Because we're in like our own space, and you're like, oh, I paid attention to all these reviews, and all
Yeah.
someone's like, oh, I just bought it because I heard it was good.
yeah, Yeah.
Or like I heard the last one, so why not?
I was gonna say, shout outs to ACH. He's one of the YouTubers I watch who does the more unorthodox reviews. And his scoring system is basically buy on sale, wait, rent, or don't buy.
Yes, this
and
guy.
I think that's so much more informed. Partly, he does do those really in-depth 20, 25-minute long game reviews.
Yeah, but
I think the number system, is just too it's too static. It doesn't really get into the game. Like, because you could have like a 6 game, but the gameplay itself is really fun. For example, I'm going to use this as an example. Do you guys know the game Dwarf Fortress?
Yes. No.
Okay. When you get a chance, Harrison, just Google image Dwarf Fortress. It's one of those games where gameplay, I think, for a lot of people, hits that 10. But visually, it's like a 2.
Yeah.
Unless you can really get into like ASCII characters, Dwarf Fortress will never ever be your game.
Yeah.
God.
Like, the people who enjoy Dwarf Fortress enjoy the heck out of it. Like,
yeah, they're like thousands of hours.
Yeah.
And then, I don't think you can really accurately encapsulate what Dwarf Fortress is with a number.
No.
I think you need to break down why exactly the game is really fun.
But I guess that's the other part of who's going to play this. Like, how do you hear about this game, right? Because I've never heard of this game until now. But
yeah, I guess it is like, maybe if I picked like a different AAA game.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, like, I guess I'm just trying to get the point of like, I think the numerical system just,
it doesn't capture.
It's not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't capture. It's too.
It's too binary. That's the word. Too binary.
I guess that's what it is. It's funny because if you really think about it, when you say like, "Oh, this is a buy, this is not a buy," that's technically binary too.
It is a binary, but like,
but fuck off, right?
Yeah, basically. There's a counter argument for everything we're saying.
There is.
Because also in the numbering system they give it a number, but they also give these are the reasons why it's this number.
Yeah.
So,
I think what I want reviews to go back to, or at least so I consume video just because it helps me, like I can have it in the background and I'll listen and I'll watch while I'm doing, because I have to fucking. That's my own fucking problem. But if I read reviews, yeah, obviously it'd probably be better. But I kind of wish when someone does a video review, it would kind of delve more, or the bigger companies. But that doesn't even matter because now there's so many YouTube reviewers that you'll find it. There's like guys that do that.
Yeah,
like ACH. So yeah,
I'm gonna move away from Last of Us 2 for just a little bit.
Yeah, go for it. We should.
So, something we didn't mention before. I'm personally just laughing because I think it's funny that Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed again.
Yeah.
What is it? November now?
Yeah, it's November.
Yeah. It's just like their entire marketing scheme at the beginning was, it's out when it's ready, and it's clearly not ready. So I get a little bit of sick laugh out of that, partly because I don't really like CD Projekt Red for their business practices, but I'm just like taking our same conversation of like reviews and review embargo, and putting it on Cyberpunk. I feel like we're gonna see the same kind of conversations again. Like, imagine like we get 2-week early reviews from Cyberpunk and it's just like a 7. Like, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's all right, because it's CD Projekt Red kind of has that following of people buy our games because they like us. And if you're gonna call the masterpiece that is Cyberpunk an average game, like it's gonna get review bombed and blah blah. People get death threats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be with the amount of hype that is behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out and somebody reviews it as like a 7 or.
Yeah, it's just like it's.
And
it's
I guess
okay.
objectively, I don't have a hate boner like Luke does for this. So I'm like, if it's a 7, cool.
It's not
I don't think
hate
it would be as
boner.
bad.
It's
No, 7's not bad at all.
I will
but-
not.
No, I was just gonna say, I think the backlash to this makes way more sense because it's like, oh, it's a 10, but why the fuck is it a 10? But if it's a 7, I'm like, well, okay, if it's a 7, then CD Projekt Red didn't do something right.
What if it got like a 4?
Then it probably, then maybe something. I kind of go with like, if it got reviewed and if it's like the general consensus kind of says that, then maybe. But I guess the other argument, that's the whole argument is like, well, why is this game a 10? And if the general population does not agree.
Here's something
So it's always,
that I want to say. You should never, like, getting mad that a critic reviewed a game and you don't agree
no,
with
you
it.
should not. No.
That
Jesus.
You need to step
chill
outside for a
out.
bit.
Yeah.
You need some air.
Yeah, like
Like, it's watch. Anyone like listens to our shit is like, oh, these guys are fucking shit. Don't fucking, like, they start reviewing us.
Well, it's like it's partly like some people put so much stake in just
Yeah.
like, I'm a gamer. I like this game because it's the best. And like,
how dare
are
they?
you saying if you insult the game, you're insulting me? And some people just take it way too
Yeah.
far.
But
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah, don't send death threats to people who just like
Don't fucking.
don't agree with you. That's bananas.
be
Oh, then the flip side could be like, oh, how dare they make this game I was so interested in so bad? Oh wait,
Someone could like take Legend of Dragoon and just break it in front of me and be like, "Hey man, if you didn't like it, that's on you, man.
yeah,
It's the best game to me, but I don't really care."
yeah.
Like, people are entitled to their opinions. It's okay.
it seems so wild that a review person would be afraid of the audience like backlash.
Yeah, well, especially
mean-
like we even talked about this before the podcast. Ian and I were like, things have gotten so split into like us against them.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
Yeah.
like it just feels that like, oh, the game is good or the game is bad. There's no in between.
Mhm.
It's just like,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that just goes for everything, and that just sucks. But I think, just to like round it out, I think at the end of the day, reviews are like, I think it's a good source, but I don't think you should like bet everything on that. And
It's
just get
it's
upset
definitely a
about it.
good like supplement,
Yeah,
but
but
you should never take any review, I think, at face value. You should definitely
yeah,
like, obviously if you use reviews, like look at the review, compare it to other reviews, and like do your own research.
Yeah. And then I think the other important thing is like, don't just I don't think you should only revise. Like, I'm in the proponent of like, what if a game is fun to you, then just play it. If you think it's fun, cool. I think that's fine. You may be wrong on certain things.
Yeah,
but
that's like-
you know what?
like-
What you have fun with is fine with me.
Just do your research, everybody.
I mean,
Just don't be like a shitty person and like fucking wreck someone else's. Like, no, fuck you. Fuck that guy.
yeah, you can. I
But-
think you could probably. I bet you could spend 20 minutes on like if you have a game in mind that you're interested in, you could spend 20 minutes to figure it out. You could
Yeah.
like that's probably
But
all.
you know
it
what's
would
great?
take.
I was gonna say, you know what's also great? It's like the return of like fucking demos.
What?
Like, if you like, some games are not like.
Oh,
I
yeah.
say this just because
I
like,
see what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah, like you can just try it out for a bit. If you don't fucking like it, then
that's very true.
But-
Yeah, didn't Final Fantasy 15 had a demo? You had
Seven did
7.
it. The
Seven
7
did.
remake did it.
Yeah,
7. I played like
It's-
2 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'm buying this.
I remember reading some article that it's semi-related, that it turns out that people who actually play demos of games are less likely to buy games.
really.
yeah,
Or like
and
they
I believe
become
that.
less interested in actually buying the game.
Because they actually get to try it. They actually get a feel for it. Versus like, oh, I don't have to pay. It's like, oh, I'm definitely not going to pay like $60 for this.
Oh, so
But
is it like they wait? Is it
Like,
they find out the
it's-
game's bad and they don't want to?
I mean,
or they
there's
just
no
don't
like
vibe with it,
real
probably.
like reasoning or causation, but it was just some stat that like with games that have demos, there is a notably less number of people who buy the game after playing
That's
for a variety of reasons. I don't know, but
that's in-
it was just fun to me because Harrison talked about demos.
that's interesting.
But
I guess it
I
makes
need to-
sense. I don't know. That's that.
that's the science in episode.
It's that
That's
needs a
that.
degree in statistics. So.
Yeah, but I guess any last thoughts on reviews or last comments? 'Cause I think we're like, this is like
Yeah,
good
we're about
roundout.
wrapping
Yeah.
it
Like
up.
that's a good
I
roundout.
think-
Yeah.
Like
I mean, summing it up, do your research. Don't take reviews at face value. Don't send people death threats if they disagree with you. Stop sexually harassing people. That's bad.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Be a
definitely rounding
be a
out.
human being.
This is it's what they always drill this into you when you're like doing substitute teacher work or like you're a teacher. Like if you see something, report it. So like if you know someone's being like sexually harassed, help them out. If you know someone who is the sexual harassee, beat them up and then report them.
As
Stop
long as
being
you
bad
feel like you
people.
can take them.
Anyway, I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
Let's
Any last words, Ian? Or is that?
yeah, just be human. The only way we're gonna move forward is together. Sunshine.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna take the message of Last of Us 2. Revenge is bad, everybody. Don't do it.
Yep.
God.
All
right.
Just hit him with the socials.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. You can tweet. Honestly, you can tweet us at like Twitter. Oh my god, I can't talk right now. I like all that. But you can tweet us any topic suggestions that would help out, or any questions at SuperBoss Pod on Twitter, or even just email us at superbossfeedback@gmail.com. If you want to keep up to date and just listen to our old stuff, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple. You can even go on our YouTube. We have YouTube. We're trying to get all our episodes up slowly. Even just like follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Mostly, honestly, if you want to reach us, probably do Twitter, Gmail, or Facebook. But other than that, yeah, just please let us know how we're doing, and thanks again for tuning in.
All right, good.
You guys have a good one, all right?
We'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.